Shortland Street makes its way to number one in my soap opera rankings for August 2022. Shortland Street earned this spot in the rankings because, frankly, the show is firing on all cylinders, in my opinion. Shortland Street was number one once before in my rankings. I believe it was January of this year where it topped Coronation Street to be number one. So far, only three soap operas have been number one in my rankings, that being Coronation Street, EastEnders the past 2 months, but now Shortland Street again for the second time, those three soaps clearly being, in my opinion, the top three soap operas over the past year. You know, the months leading up to Shortland Street's 30th anniversary, I was not happy with the writing. But since the 30th anniversary, the writing has gotten together really good. And I'm really enjoying pretty much all parts of the show. Basically, every storyline I'm pretty into. And I don't even know where to start. There's so many good things to talk about. I think we're going to start with the Damo situation. We saw in July Damo get hit by that bus. This coming after he was considering exposing TK for having an affair, but Damo slept with his ex as well, Leanne. They gave him that pretty cool episode when he got hit by the bus and got on the bus, and there were some past characters on the bus with him that seemed like he was going to his death. He's been in a coma ever since, but Desi, of course, has been trying to fight to keep him there, just hoping for a miracle that he would come back to life. But unfortunately for them, the hospital and TK wanted to send him to a new facility, kind of to save some hospital expenses, but also because they felt like it was the right thing to do for Damo, who's basically brain dead at this point. But they once again gave Damo a great ending here, at least ending for now. Maybe one day he'll miraculously come out of this coma. But I think Shortland Street strives to be a little more realistic. At least that's what we got from the storyline so far. But they gave Damo this good goodbye as they wheeled him out of the Shortland Street Hospital. A lot of the staff had swords, giving him like a soldier's send-off. It really spoke to Damo's relationship with the staff at Shortland Street. So it was once again a really great goodbye to the character of Damo. And it's really, they did some powerful stuff here with the Damo scenes. It's one of the main reasons I put Shortland Street ahead of EastEnders. But not the only reason, because like I said, the show has been firing on all cylinders. We've had Chris trying to get back his job from TK, and we had the nurse Lovely make a misstep during an emergency, and she has to quit. And she didn't even want to be a part of the emergency, but Banana put her there because the hospital's been going through some money issues with TK at the helm of it. And TK is upset that Chris is only paying himself $1 to be able to pay his surgical staff because, you know, Chris basically a trust fund baby. That's what TK said. So Chris is able to do that to help his wing of the hospital to make himself and his wing look better. And then TK is looking like he's having money issues. But the big part of the TK story is, you know, him and Cece were getting closer and closer to an engagement. Cece ends up proposing to TK, which TK is feeling guilty about his affair with Tarangope and has to tell Cece the truth about him sleeping with her. That causes a rift between those two, but the two later in the month of August are able to talk it out and even keep the engagement. While Desi, who just lost Damo, or at least he went to a different facility, is upset with TK for kicking Damo out of Shortland Street Hospital and tells TK's daughter, Tilly, that TK cheated on Cece, which causes a rift between TK and his daughter. And of course, Desi is also upset with Cece because it's not Cece's place to tell Tilly this information. It is Cece who has to work this out with TK and is okay with their relationship continuing. She has forgiven TK because he was going through a cancer scare at the time. But the twist in this story is, you know, this is going to come out publicly, and that's one of the reasons Chris was fired as head of the hospital, because he was getting into so many PR nightmares. Chris has a change of heart and wants TK to keep his position. It seems as Chris is done trying to play mind games to get his job back. He wants to see TK succeed in this position. And it's something I didn't see coming, but it's something I like. It's something Al Shortland Street has been doing very well lately, is characters are making decisions that you kind of don't see coming. It's not the typical formula of characters doing the obvious thing over and over and over. Shortland Street's throwing curveballs at us, and I appreciate that with writing because the same redundant kind of writing gets boring pretty quickly. Another good point to the Desi and Damo story towards the end of August was Leanne having to kind of put Desi in her place because when Desi is throwing TK under the bus to his own daughter, his own young daughter, and Desi is upset because Damo was such a good man and TK's just this cheater, that Leanne has to break the news to Desi that Damo slept with Leanne and went back to her like an ex and cheated on Desi. So Desi got a little taste of her own medicine there, got a little put in check, and needed it because she can be quite the annoying character. But I really feel like Shortland Street over the past 3 months or so has really put in the work with the writing to make their storylines interesting, to actually give us some more character-driven stories, which is something I would not say Shortland Street is known for. I think their stories move way too fast to get character-driven stories usually, but we're getting it these past few months with the stories, especially like the Harper story, who's been going through it because of a bit of kind of postpartum depression with the kids, not quite enjoying that, wanting her job back at the hospital, getting her head position back at the hospital now, which is probably going to cause her to be spending a lot of time at work, spending less time with Drew and the kids, which has already been a big problem for the relationship between Drew and Harper. I'm wondering if they will once again go towards the Drew and Cece thing. I talked about this a few months ago when that almost affair was happening, that I felt like they had some chemistry and had a real connection. I would love to see that explored more, but I don't know if that's what we'll get. And I've also only watched up till the end of August. This is airing in a week into September, but I have not watched any September of Shortland Street yet. But back to August, which was a great month of the show, in my opinion. We also had the Marty relationship, who is getting with Monique, but of course, him and Esther were been having this kind of flirt match for the past few months. But eventually, even though he ends up kissing Esther behind Monique's back, Marty eventually tells Esther that Esther's basically been using him. Seems like Esther's using Marty to half get over her ex-husband, who's now deceased, and that Esther doesn't really want Marty, just kind of using Marty for emotional support. And so Marty goes back to Monique. I like those two as a couple. We'll see what else we get from that. The character of Mauve has been breaking a lot of rules lately. If there's any story that I think I found the weakest, it was maybe this one. It was just her really going off the deep end, trying to help this woman who was being abused, and then that woman, it also caused problems between Mauve and Nicole, because Nicole didn't want Mauve in that situation. She was also hiding the phone from Mauve when that woman was trying to call her, and then that woman gets in a car accident with her abusive husband and then ends up dying in that car accident. So it caused a little rift between Mauve and Nicole there for a while. But I think overall that story with Mauve being over the top, it wasn't my favorite of the month, but it was still strong enough. It made the character more interesting to me, but I'll have to see where they actually go with her from there, because I feel like most of that was dropped by the end of August. We have the new character of Stephanie trying to become a nurse at Shortland Street, and they're teasing her with, I don't know his name, I want to say it's like Rahu. He's like a newer character too, a doctor. But I also think those two have chemistry. So that's another thing Shortland Street's doing good for me, is finding couples with chemistry, because that's what makes some good soap opera romance. They actually have to have chemistry. Lastly, Dawn returned to the show. She's been sleeping in her car. That's yet to be explored as to the reason why. But they've also teased Dawn and Logan as a couple. And as much as I don't really like the character of Dawn, Dawn and Logan are another couple with potential chemistry. So that's working for me too. So that is why overall I just really think Shortland Street is firing on all cylinders. I like almost every single story, if not every story. There's no bad story going on right now. They did great by the character of Damo with his exit. Uh, they've tied in the storylines together, like Cece mad at TK for making Damo leave the hospital, and then her throwing the affair in his child's face. Cece also turning back to drinking, which I think was always a point of the story we all thought was going to happen because of Damo, this happening to Damo. Of course, she's going to fall back on her alcoholism. But yeah, they're doing right by all the characters. I think the writing has been very strong at interweaving stories together, at giving us twists. And we're just seeing characters make decisions we kind of don't see coming, but it still fits the character. I love it. I think Shortland Street had a great month of August, the best month of Shortland Street since I've been doing these rankings for sure. And I hope they can continue this strong writing and continue down this strong trend because I am enjoying Shortland Street more than any other soap right now. EastEnders still a very close second, but Shortland Street edged it out for August in my rankings.